Greetings, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Today is Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, it's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. So I wanted to come in today. I posted the flyer for our next moon class that begins on December 4th. I wanted to talk a little bit about the moon work. Gabrielle and I are going to come in tomorrow and talk about it, but I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I've been doing this work for probably about 12 years, consistently following moon cycles in community with a group of other women. And one of the things that the benefits of this work is the moon governs all of the water on the planet. And it governs the reproductive system in all humans. But women, we see it really plainly because women ovulate at one time of the month and then they bleed at another time of the month. That's the moon's rhythms circular in your energetic system, in your reproductive system. So one of the things that I have really seen in this work that I have been doing is it's helping me become who I'm meant to be, how I'm meant to function. Now, this goes back to my natal chart and understanding like we all come with a map. We all come with a code. And everyone's code is different. We're similar in many ways. Like we all have two hands and two eyes and a mouth and a nose. Those are the things that make us similar. But beneath the surface of this exterior experience of being a human being, there are individual aspects that are different. We're not the same. And so because we were all indoctrinated in, Christianity or Islam or, whatever the religions are, it's not even about the religion as much as it is being born at this time on the planet where we've been at the end of the age of Pisces, and there have been these collective ideas that we've all been indoctrinated into in one way or another. It's very pronounced in the West, so we have ideas of age and beautiful and race and superiority and this is wealth. And we've learned all of these ways of being that really go against nature. And one of the major things that we've done in our cultural agreements is that we have created this relationship with the external reality that is based upon things that are false. We have given people credit and power because of what they have. Because, like we will say a woman is beautiful and give her access because her skin is a certain complexion or her body is a certain kind of way. We will give men access and power because of the amounts of money they have, or we will take that access away because you don't have, or because you don't fit this sort of criteria. I remember when I was growing up, and let me say I came in on the ends of this kind of stuff. I used to just hear stories about it. I never saw it, right? But they would say like you couldn't get into a certain sorority if you were darker than a paper bag. And this sort of power that we have given to the external without understanding the internal aspect, we have sort of created a reality that's based in false equivalence. Because money is a made-up system. All of these sort of false systems don't deserve to have the level of value that we give them. And so because of it, as we are moving into this different reality where we're moving from now coming from the external, we're going to be starting from the internal to the external. So we have to learn to undo our old emotional patterns, our old conscious agreements, the ways that we have interacted with the 3D reality. And let me say how I see it in my own world, right? So, something happened this weekend when I was with my family. I was with my aunt, and I grew up in a family where I was really poor. There was a lot of poverty. And so I learned really young how to get my needs met in sort of covert ways, by complaining or by, making the energy really heavy, by doing things that would make people feel like they should give me something. And it was just a natural something that I developed because of the poverty. And now that I have matured and I'm beginning to really look at myself, I am seeing like, oh, I did this because, this is the way I behave with this person. Like like you get with a certain friend and all you guys do is talk about one thing, or you get with a certain part, it's just these sort of agreements, right? So this weekend I was with my aunt, we were grocery shopping, and she was buying some things, and we were going to go to her daughter's house. And so she bought some garlic, and when we were at the house cooking some food, I was cooking something for my son, I was in a foreign kitchen. So I knew that there was garlic in my aunt's bag, and I went and got the garlic and I prepared what I needed to do. And that was that. But when we were leaving and we were all sort of in a rush, I put the garlic in my bag. And when I got home, I was like, oh, I have the garlic. And I just sat to think about it. And I really realized that I took it because it was like my aunt's, and there was a part of me that felt entitled to it. Like I felt like I could take it. I felt like it's sort of a childhood pattern. It's even difficult to talk about. Like I'm having a hard time saying it because I still have some shame around it. But I didn't put the garlic back in her bag because I felt like she owes it to me, or I deserve it, and I sat with that and I was like, oh, that's an old childhood pattern of this manipulation to get your needs met in ways where people sort of just give you things. It was sort of like stealing. And so I sat with it and I was like, okay, what do I want to do about this? Because ultimately what I know is that it wasn't really a big deal because it was just garlic that cost $6. But I knew that it was attached to a pattern inside of me that was a big deal. So I just texted my aunt and was like, hey, I got your garlic. Do you want me to bring it back to you? Do you want me to give you some money for it? And she was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. And then and she said, don't worry about it. I don't know how much it costs anyway. So since I got it off the shelf, I knew how much it cost. And I just sent her a cash app for that amount of money. And something so seemingly innocent has shifted a whole pattern inside of me around the way I have misused my power or used an identity of, that would get people to like feel sorry for me or feel like, whatever it is, something that would make them do things for me just because I felt like I didn't have enough money, or I felt like I have to, get this in other ways. Like really learning to acknowledge my intentions in order to shift the behaviors that don't serve me any longer. And it's this major thing around the way we relate to money, the way we relate to the 3D reality, the way I assign power to things that don't deserve power, the way I give energy away to things that really aren't aligned. And it's something I'm still working out, so it's kind of challenging to discuss because I'm still in the midst of it. But it's like there's this thing that I see that happens in our culture. Because people have money, they get access. But they might get access to things that they haven't really earned. And because we do this financial thing, we give money more power than what it deserves. And there's like an entitlement that comes around it. And I see how that works in my own life. Like it works in my life kind of as a negative. It's like I have made my value be based upon not having a lot of money. And so then my actions have been fueled with this scarce idea around money that came out of poverty. And I see it, how it goes. My cat, you all. Stop it. She's the kitty. She wants to say hello. I see this in my relationship with the 3D reality. And the thing that's tricky is that the 3D reality is all made up stuff. Nothing here is real. Everything here is just things that we've agreed on, things that we've said yes. And it's not to say that we shouldn't be in our integrity and honor it, but it's also not to take it so seriously. Not to, like if somebody has a doctorate degree, we're going to give them all of this respect. They could be a monster. Just because they've been able to move through this external maze or play this external game doesn't mean that they deserve the title that we have given them. And because the external reality cannot really be a true gauge of what's going on inside of you. We would like to hope that it can, but it cannot. And I'm starting to see it in my own experiences, like how I have treated people who look more attractive in different ways than I would treat somebody who wasn't as physically attractive, but they were kinder. They were more genuine. They were more heartfelt. But because the person who looked a certain way had this physical charm, I might give them more attention than they actually deserve or than actually will benefit me. It's just this tricky sort of thing that we have created in our culture that I see how I participate in. Am I making sense, or is this just crazy? Is what I'm saying not making sense? Because it's just an interesting thing. It's like the psychology of our social agreements. And I'm beginning to see where things like, oh, if a person is a Christian, we believe that they're going to go to heaven because they believe in Jesus, right? Something so monumental based on something that means really nothing. Because they say they're a Christian, because they say they believe in Jesus, we assign, now you get to go to heaven. But we don't know what's really going on inside of them. Okay? And so I'm starting to look at that in my own self, like where I have participated in these agreements, like, oh, because this person has a lot of money, maybe there's more value there. No, like because this person looks a certain way, maybe they have, it's really a fascinating thing to undo in the psychology, in your own experience. And I'm just like, I caught myself in the act of like pretending like a poor person because, of some garlic. And I literally was just like, oh, basically, you stole this garlic and you don't want to call it that because it's your auntie and she's like your mother and it's okay. Like, no, that's out of integrity. Like, that's not in alignment. Like, that's not you showing up in your real true self. That's you making a choice based upon, this costs this and you don't want to pay. That's bullshit. Like, you don't need to do that. And I was like, oh, right. But then I realized where that came from inside of me. And I've been doing that. I learned to do that as a child. I learned to be afraid of what things cost. And I learned to judge, things based upon, I learned to place value upon things based upon how much they cost. And I learned to determine the value of something based upon how a person looked or what kind of car they drove or what school they went to. And all of this is made up shit. All of it means nothing. So to assign value to it based upon some sort of physical thing is the least reason. It is the least reason to give something your power because of what it does for you, because of what you see physically. That is the least of what it is. And so it's right. Dismantling the illusion is mind fucking blowing because it's everywhere. But once you see it, and once you see yourself in it, there's no going back. Once you catch yourself in it, because it's one thing to be able to judge the system and be like, oh, racism and classism or, all of those things that are just glaringly obvious. That's one thing. But to be able to see it in the most subtle ways in your own self, that's the moon work. That is the moon work. Because you begin to catch yourself at the game that you have been playing in the identity that you inherited. You begin to see how you are in alignment with the reality and the ways that are keeping you stuck. Because all of this stuff is an illusion. All of it is made up. And if we are to remember ourselves, if we are to wake up to who we really are, we have to catch ourselves in the act of being who we are not. You have to unravel it inside of yourself. And it is the most work that I have ever done, you all. It, on every level, on the level of love and romantic and relationship, on gender and being a woman, on spirituality and Christianity, on money, on every level, breaking it down. And how do I do it? With the moon work. Because every month, the moon is in a new phase and a full moon phase. And then, and so the work is there. And so I'm beginning to watch reality come undone inside of me. And I'm seeing how I participated in it, and it's mind-blowing. And what's happening in the other side of it is I'm also experiencing this tremendous level of boredom. I'm experiencing so much boredom, and it's really challenging. I have a Gemini moon because I'm watching my mind tell myself the stories, and I'm not reacting to it. I'm not taking it as true. That is a great part of this experience here, is that our mind we give it so much power, the ego. And so the ego will tell you, that's wrong over there, and that's wrong, and look at them. And so I used to fall into those narratives, and now my mind and I'm just watching the mind. I'm watching the mind, watching it, and not reacting to it. And and the feelings come up, and I am able to do the work with the feelings so that I'm not telling myself a story that he did this or she did that or I don't have this. And I'm just alchemizing the energy. And then a new reality shows up. This reality is so magical, you guys. But we have been bought into all manner of lies, so we don't get to experience it because they've told us that God is out there. They've told us that you have to do this and you have to do that and you have to flip this back and all these sort of things that are made up things, y'all. It's all made up shit. None of it is real. None of it is true. And so the more I'm watching myself drop the stories, let them go, be present in my own system, feel what I feel, and then make a new choice, a whole new, more energy shows up. My body heals. Pain goes away in my body. It is amazing. My body is starting to transform because I'm not running those same cycles. Anyway, all right, y'all. I encourage you guys to join the moon work. I'm just here. The moon work is challenging to talk about because it's something that, it's like really simple. You set an intention, we do the rituals, but the work begins to get really deep as you stay with it, because you begin to come out of the old mindset and into the new way of being, and then your reality begins to emerge. The reality that comes out of your code, which is your natal chart. The reality that comes out of your natal chart will begin to emerge. It's like we're all here to have our own reality, but you have to follow the codes of your own reality to do that. And it is the moon work that allows you each month to set new intentions, do new rituals according to where the energy is happening in your life. And as you do it, you deconstruct the old reality while building the new reality. You also harmonize the feminine aspect of your mind and the masculine aspect of your mind. So you come into balance so that you can access that energy, the Kundalini energy within you, which is your God power. And I'm telling you, this work is miraculous. Many people have a lot of narratives about it, so they feel like it's demonic and all this, but it's not. Nothing is demonic here. Let me tell you what's demonic. Demonic is denying your own shadow and your own darkness. Now, everyone doesn't have the courage to access and be with their own shadow and darkness. It is terrifying. It is like Jesus became Christ because he went into the lower realms of himself for 3 days and 3 nights, or for 40 days and 40 nights, whatever it was. He faced his own shadow. And that is terrifying. But you will come out on the other side of it. And the moon work is the work that I have organized in a way to help people be able to embody their own divinity. The moon cycles, you all, because it governs the water in the body and it governs your reproductive system. So as you follow the cycle, as you do the rituals, as you get your mind focused in the places that the energy is present for you, you will heal those old patterns and they will be renewed with the new way of being. But you have to be willing to be focused and stay with it. It's not easy work. It's not easy work, but it is valuable work and it works. So I would love to have you guys. Gabrielle and I are facilitating this work together now. It's magical. It's also challenging. It's nothing worth having is without you're going to have to give up something. You're going to have to die in some way. You're going to have to die to some old way of being. And I have had to die in many ways. And had anybody told me what the journey would be like, I would have, if somebody given me the details of it, I wouldn't have done it. I would not have done it. So I'm going to say that, right? And so, if you're not ready to really be present to who you are, then this isn't the work for you. It's not, and that's cool. But if you are ready, if you are like, I'm tired of my fucking life and I feel like I have some power and things should be different and I want to fucking get it and I want to own it and I want to do it, then this work is for you. And this work is for you. But if you're not ready, it's not for you. It's not. And it's okay. Because when you get ready, maybe we'll be here. But, the universe is benevolent, right? So when you get ready, something will show up for you. That's what I see now. That's what I know now. You're never going to miss it if you're really devoted. If you're really like, I want to get to know myself. The universe is going to show up. But if you're scared and not willing to commit and, you want to make money the problem and all that, if you got a whole lot of excuses, then you're not ready. And that's okay. And that's okay. So the new cycle starts on the 4th. We would love to have you. You guys, Mercury is about to go into retrograde. It's the last retrograde of the year. Mercury has been retrograde in every earth sign. Mercury was retrograde in Taurus earlier this year. Mercury was retrograde in Virgo, and Mercury is now going to be retrograde in Capricorn. So we are about to have another retrograde, and this is the last stitch for now around accessing who you really are, getting your authority back, your authority coming back to yourself. And we don't even recognize. See, that's what I'm saying. You can't even see how you give your authority away. But I'll tell you, if you're having anxiety attacks and if you feel powerless and if your relationships don't work and if you're having health challenges, all of that is coming from an externalized idea of authority. So if you, like I'm saying, it's so hard to talk about what the work really is because it's so intimate and intricate and it's so life-changing with so little effort. It's amazing how little effort it takes, but it's a little bit at a time every month. And more and more, your power comes back to you. And more, you wake up into the miracles and your life starts to organize itself and you start to see clearly and you start to understand your relationship to not only reality, but to who you really are, because who you really are starts to emerge. It's magic. It's magic. It's magic. And I fucking love it. All right. It's good to see you, Ava. All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. Have a really beautiful day. Bye-bye.